Even if you are one of the 99% of guys who are simply too nice, it is not your fault because someone else or society in general has programmed you to be that way. But that's about to change right now because I'm going to teach you a few easy ways to stop being so nice, which, if you follow them, will make you a more attractive, stronger, and better man in general. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's dive right into it. Number 1, raise the bar. Guys who are too nice are frequently taken advantage of by both men and women. The question is, what can be done to prevent this from happening? Realistically, if you are too nice to people, at some point somebody will take advantage of you. Men who are too nice are frequently taken advantage of by both men and women. And the solution is to set higher expectations for how other people should treat you. For instance, picture that you are hanging out with a group of close friends, and one of them cracks a joke about you, to which the others all respond with laughter. This is something that guys do, and it's completely normal now. Would have this same friend kept making jokes about you every single time this year with him, and the jokes went from being lighthearted and fun to being downright disrespectful at this point in time. It is time to say something to him about it. You see, men who are too nice to him do tolerate too much from other people, whether it is somebody cracking jokes about them or just the way that people behave towards him. It doesn't matter what it is time to say something to him about it. If the girl you like is always playing too hard to get, know what your limit is and cut her off immediately after she crosses the line. Apply these standards for yourself to all areas of your life and never tolerate any behavior toward you. In order to stop being too nice, you need to set high standards for yourself. If the girl you like is always playing too hard to get, know what your limit is and cut her off immediately after she crosses the line. That goes too far or that disrespects you excessively. Number 2, speak with conviction. I see this all the time. One of the quickest ways to tell if a guy is too nice is to pay close attention to how he says something. A guy who is too nice tends to speak with little to no conviction or with no personality. I see this all the time. One of the fastest ways to tell if a guy is too nice is to pay close attention to how he says something. A guy who is too nice tends to speak when you place an order for food at a restaurant and they ask you if you want it for here or to go. You should confidently state the option that you prefer. Speaking with conviction means speaking in a way that demonstrates that you are aware of the options available to you. Consequently, when someone asks you something, you should respond in a way that demonstrates that you understand this. Stop nodding your head so much. Number 3, in the same way that we all do, I enjoy watching prank videos on YouTube every once in a while, and one thing that I notice almost every time is when one of the pranksters approaches a guy who is way too nice. This is a guy who simply agrees with everything that is said to him, and if you watch someone like Vitally, you already know that this makes for a really funny prank video because you have seen it before. However, this comes at the expense of the nice guy who was the target of the prank. The reason for this is that the guy who is making the prank video will walk up to the other guy and say something that is way out of line and is essentially a huge insult directly to the guy's face. And the person who is being pranked will simply agree with what was said, and then, as in many of this guy's older videos, he will approach people and tell them that they look extremely feeble, or he will do something else that is really outrageous and in your face. Things like that, and the guys who are too nice will just simply agree with him, and some of them might even try to explain to him why they're so weak, and while it's super funny to watch in a prank video, there is absolutely nothing funny about this at all. If this happens to you when there are no cameras recording, then simply make it a habit to disagree on purpose with other people, even if it's just about something trivial. This is especially helpful if you're the type of person who always finds common ground with others. So if someone says, "Man, that movie was terrible, but you liked it," rather than agreeing with them or giving into their argument, you should challenge them by asking them why they think the movie was bad or why they think a certain type of food is bad. The 4th step is to stop keeping a record of your good deeds. This is one of the most significant errors that can be made if a person is overly nice, and it is one of the most significant factors that contributes to the level of frustration experienced by a large number of men. You'll find that guys who are just too nice will do something nice for someone, especially a girl, and then keep track of that deed along with hundreds of other nice things they've done for people in the past. And it will covertly expect something in return for all of these kind things that they have done, which is something that attractive high-class men never do because they simply give without anticipating receiving anything in return. This is the dark side of being too nice, and it's the reason why being too nice is the root cause of so many issues. If you're always keeping track of the nice things you do for other people and expecting nice things to be done for you in return, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment. Then you are going to become enraged, and you are going to start to resent the people who don't repay you what you believe you are owed for these things when you say it. Therefore, if you do something nice for another person, take a moment to appreciate it, but after that, put it out of your mind and move on to number 5. There are a lot of gentlemen who don't speak their minds when they really want to say something, and there are also a lot of gentlemen who are afraid of conflict and afraid that people won't like them. That they never let anyone see the real them, which is a huge problem because if you never express who you really are, then nobody will ever actually know who you are, and you will just come off as a generic dull and boring guy that nobody ever remembers. This is a problem because if you never express who you really are, then nobody will ever actually know who you are. If you only remember one thing, let it be this: a man who doesn't hold back and says or does some things that make other people not like him is 100 times more of a man than one who is so afraid to rock the boat. Trust me when I say that you guys don't want to be this guy now. If you only remember one thing, let it be this: a man who doesn't hold back and says or does some things that make other people not like him is 100 times more that he never displays or gives any indication of even the slightest portion of who he actually is. Therefore, if there is something you want to say, then say it. If there is something you want to do, then do it. Do not be afraid of what other people will think of you, and do not allow this fear to prevent you from being who you are. The 6th and final piece of advice, which is to stop being so nice, has a direct correlation to what was just discussed. Specifically, it is to stop fearing confrontation. It is a very uncomfortable feeling, but only temporarily, and over time as you start to embrace conflict more often, it quickly loses its grip on you. I remember that I used to be terrified of confrontation because it is a very uncomfortable feeling, but only temporarily, and so, as you can see, I used to be afraid to call out other men when they crossed the line, but now I'm happy to do it. Many guys like girls and other men, of course, walk all over them verbally, and I was one of those guys. All due to the fact that they are so terrified of having a confrontation. Imagine a bully in school who was picking on some little guy because he is skinny and weak. What if one day the kid finally stands up to him, and the bully fights back, at least with his words? Even if the skinny guy gets punched or something in the end, the bully is going to move on to someone else eventually. What do you think is going to happen? The bully at school always looks for the easiest target, so even though the skinny guy might get punched or something, eventually the bully is going to move on. You won't be able to avoid seeing that once you make the decision to engage in conflict, even if it's over something as trivial as disagreeing with the viewpoints of other people. It's really not that scary at all, and in fact, welcoming confrontation each time you experience it will make you feel more like a man than you've ever felt before, which will boost your confidence in who you are and make you a much more attractive man overall.